Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 574. Mr. Somich.
Magic hit the pick 5 last week. Huzzah!
And I just hit the pick 5 at Aqueduct again today. I love Aqueduct, which is why we're going to Del Mar. I actually don't love Aqueduct in the winter meets. But listen, if you missed it, the last race, Mike and I were both alive with $108 tickets in the last race Thursday at Aqueduct. And I'd had my top pick win the first 4. I had the 2 who had the lead early in the last race as the top pick. And then your horse that I didn't have came and passed him. And I thought, shoot, Mike's going to get it. And then I had another horse rally and we were banging heads and right at the wire. I got you. It wasn't chalk. We both were trying to beat the chalk in there and it worked out for me. That was my 4th horse in though. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, that was it. Yeah, I love that horse. That was the last one to make the ticket.
I mean, I got to say, I thought my 7 was home. And this was today at Aqueduct. Yeah. You know, he's doing the Rockets. I'm doing the bombs. We're both live to the last one. And 8 to 1 and 9 to 1 banging heads down the stretch. And I thought the 7 was clear on the turn and then just absolutely stopped. Then re-rallied when your 4 came to the outside and just could not get home. So Magic cashed it about $500 pick 5. Nice job by you there. It was a good day at Aqueduct. Hit the early pick 4 too. So lots of good stuff there. Would have been nice to close it out with the pick 5 though. But look, we got to do. Look, you hit the pick 5 last week. We both had the 15 to 1 shot in the last leg. I left out 2 favorites. You included them, paid $1,800. So if you listened to the show last week, you played Magic Ticket, you cashed $1,800. So you're on fire right now, man. You're in fuego.
Thank you. To be fair, that you hit the pick 4, the late pick 4. It's just the horse that won the first leg was a favorite that had finished second a bunch of times. And you said on there, you're like, this horse is good enough to win. When it does, I'm probably not going to have it on my ticket. So you were right about that part. Can I give you partial credit?
Sure. Handicap myself very well there and leaving off a favorite that was going to go ahead and win. You know, the pick 6 that day, $44,000. And the winner of the race right before was a really logical Chad Brown horse. It was like 5 to 1 or so. So hopefully someone out there in Magic Mike land was able to hit that pick 6 as well with the picks, because that was, like I said, very hittable first leg. And then if you like the 2 favorites, if you like the 3 and the 1, that were in the 5th and 7th, I believe, last Thursday, then it was really, really gettable if you liked our 5 in the last leg.
Yeah, I hope I had heard from a couple of people that they played along. So if you did, congrats. And we're going to both try to hit this pick 5 at Del Mar on Saturday. I will tell you, it's not going to be possible for both of us to hit it unless there's any scratches, because the other 4 legs were fine. This first leg, race 5, which also ends the early pick 5, so a doubly crucial race, we both went 3 deep, and we are not using the single horse that's alike.
Yeah, 2 roads diverge in the woods on race 1 of the pick 5. So right away, we will know who is alive and who's not. We'll know who to root for. After that, pretty darn simpatico. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Pretty darn simpatico after this first leg. So maybe the Frankenstein pick 4 is the way to go here, not the Frankenstein pick 5.
And that Frankenstein pick 4 would be pretty cheap. My pick 5 ticket is $72. Yours is $80, and you have a single that's part of that pick 4. So yeah, plenty of ways to hit. Hopefully, we can get you some winning tickets here on the Magic Mike Show for Del Mar Saturday, November 23rd. Riders up! Right, first leg of the Del Mar Late Pick 5, Saturday, November 23rd, race 5, a 5-furlong turf sprint for 10 males, 3 and up, is our $50,000 starter allowance condition, non-winners of 3 lifetimes. So, excuse me, there are a couple different conditions here, makes for an interesting group, and we've got a field of 10. Where'd you go on top?
We do. Give me. So you were making fun of me before the show because I'm gonna use a couple horses by a trainer that's known to get them ready to roll here with some extracurricular activities. But that is not my top pick. My top pick here going to go to the number 8 horse, Lonesome Slew, 3 to 1 on the morning line. Mark Glatt, Antonio Fresu on board here. I think this is your speed of the speed. You look back at the race on turf, 5 furlong effort at Santa Anita, 5.5 at Santa Anita back in January. The only time this horse touched turf. You watch that race back, it was a mess, man. It was the first time since Glad had claimed it. The horse didn't break well, had trouble every step of the way, never really got to run in that effort. So I'm willing to draw a line through that. What really jumped out to me here was the progression between late in the 3-year-old season and then this 4-year-old debut that we saw. So jumped up a full 10 buyer points from what we saw at Del Mar in November up to Del Mar in October of this year. I thought was really impressive being able to clear and then just run away from that field. Ends up under wraps late, kind of gives up a couple lengths, but never in doubt, winning at 6.5 furlongs. Now we're cutting back here and we're switching over to the turf to 5 furlongs. Really interesting timed move. And that's one of the reasons I really like the 8 horse here. I'm surprised that we're trying turf. And the fact that we are trying turf tells me that Glatt thinks this horse is a very, very good turf sprinter. Doesn't make a ton of sense to go this direction if you weren't going to go turf. And so we're landing in this $50,000 allowance level here with a horse that's going to be the speed in my mind that is going to make the lead. And if this horse makes the lead, watch out. Has every ability to be able to run away from this field. Like the fact that we came back off the layoff and we're not in for a tag, and then second race back, also not in for a tag. Clearly, this horse matured quite a bit between 3 and 4. Now we get second off the layoff, second out as a 4-year-old. I think we get a big run here from the 8, Lonesome Slew. So that's going to be my top pick here, Magic. Who'd you put on top, and why didn't you use the 8 horse? I thought you'd use this one.
So first off, the 8 was my 4th horse in. If I wanted a $96 ticket, he would be on. I toyed back and forth with it. Okay. So I would use him. He's very interesting. If you ignore that one time that he tried turf previously, it is interesting for a couple of things. Something that you tipped me off to way early when we started this podcast. Claimed sight unseen. The horse had never made a single start in the afternoon. Mark Glatt claimed this horse for $32,000 off of morning workouts. Like that's great. And then out of that, what does he do after he claims? He throws them on the turf. Well, okay, so that didn't work out. But since then has really progressed. I'm scared away by the price here. That's really what kept me away from this. I do have a couple races where I'm going to be a little chalky. So I was trying to stay away. But again, if you want to extend this from 72 to 96, the 8 makes the ticket because I am scared about this horse. We'll just see what happens on race day.
Yeah, it was so 2 things. First off, I handicapped before morning lines, so wasn't positive on the price. Wish we got a little better price than 3-1, not gonna lie. But I also knew I was singling a horse that was not going to be the favorite or even the second choice in the race that I was going to. So that made me less price conscious early on in this ticket, which is one of the reasons I do have 3 shorter prices here. Not necessarily the favorites, but 3 shorter prices. But I do like the 8 quite a bit here. The 8 would have made my ticket even if I had seen the 3-1 price.
Car Ramrod convinced me. I was sitting here thinking, man, God, Glatt's been on fire, and he stayed on fire since Santa Anita. All right, I just made a $96 ticket. 8's back on.
Yeah, it's Magic playing with a bankroll. His pants are heavy after the last week or so. You know what? I got a little extra cash.
I hit Aqueduct last Saturday. I also hit Churchill last Thursday for over $2,000. So yeah, I'm feeling a little.
Man, look at Magic's ticket price go up. He's like, I got this.
Just call me the White Dr. Tang, right? That's what I got going on here. Top pick for me is number 7, Rexford. So there's several horses coming out of the same common race. And I like Rexford here because in 4 starts over this course and distance, he's got to win. He has a second. He basically lost a photo for second and fourth. And then he had 1 bad result, but that came right before an 8-month layoff. When I see stuff like that, I went, 1 bad race, long layoff. Something probably went wrong there. So he's come back. He's run well. Half a length behind Mas Rapido, who came from way out of the clouds to win that common race at Santa Anita last time out. And this horse has been consistent other than that 1 dull effort before the long layoff. This is a very consistent son of Tapiture. And there are 2 horses from that common race that I'm going to use. And I think you're using 1 for sure. Just the 1.
I'm using 2 horses I'm using 1 horse from that common race. Right. Yes. And that's not going to be either of the horses that you use. So we saw that common race a little bit differently there. Second pick, actually, we came from that same race. The 3-horse Kid Azteca here. 92 Peter Miller, JJ Hernandez rides back on this one. And this is a horse that's kind of had an interesting progression. We've seen it run on dirt. Those are both Los Alamitos starts. You got 1 Turf Paradise start in there as well. But this course is clearly better turf sprinting. And this is a Peter Miller barn that does very well on turf sprinting. I like the fact that this horse got the lead last time and then regressed a little bit, couldn't quite get to the wire. That was the third start off the bench. Now you get the fourth off the bench, and we're adding blinkers, which to me is the big difference here. It feels like you're going to see a little bit more focused version of this horse with the blinkers on. Peter Miller, 11% with blinkers on, so it doesn't exactly blow you away there. But then you look at that gate work 2 back on November 10th, the 46-3. I love it. We always talk about this. The non-bullet bullet works when a horse is second of 26. In this case, you don't get the bullet, so people don't notice it. But that work's still absolutely sizzling. This is a horse that I think can take advantage of a race where, like, yeah, you got the 1 that's going to go. You've got the 2 that's got a little speed. I think that the 8 is the speed of the speed. Well, Kid Azteca should sit right behind them and get an absolutely perfect trip here, going this 5 furlong distance, which is a shorter distance for these turf sprints in California. So I think Kid Azteca trips out here and should improve here fourth off the layoff, especially adding the blinkers, which I think is going to kind of get him a little bit more focus, which was the issue you had at the end of last race. I think that's why the blinkers are going on. It just feels like this is one of those where Hernandez, who has ridden this horse a couple times, came back and said to Miller, look, add the blinkers. We would have won that race if we had them. So the idea that we're shortening up and adding blinkers makes me feel like through the 3 Kid Azteca can turn the tables on the 7 Rexford, who, by the way, fourth horse on for me. So if I was going to add one more, it would be your 7 horse.
Okay. So I thought Kid Azteca's race was good. I could see why they added blinkers, because Hernandez had the right trip for him. It's just when the horse kicked on, he probably just felt like the horse was sitting there waiting and misses second by a half length. And the horse that won came from way off the clouds, got up there with a full head of steam. The horse who finished 4th in that race is my second choice in this spot. And that's the number 9, Yakalif, who at 10-1, if it's 10-1 actual odds, I'm going to be very shocked. I don't think this is a great morning line on this horse, based off of being so close to 2 horses who are going to be 4-1 on the 7, 9-2 on the 3. And this horse was ahead behind them. And is 10-1? I don't know about that one. Jeff Mullins takes over for Amador Sanchez. The barn change is good. I like that he is absolutely lethal in turf sprints, 22% with a $3.33 ROI in the last 2 years. Barrios rides through the barn change. He doesn't usually ride that often for Mullins, so I think that that's a big sign. This horse might have some talent. But I also, watching that race, off the turn, the horse had almost the exact same trip following Kid Azteca, but Kid Azteca got out clear off the turn. Yakalov just kept sitting there waiting. Finally, he kicked in, and he accelerated late in the stretch there. It just was too little too late for him. But I thought that he ran the best race of the horses that are coming out of that. It's just sometimes he's a little trouble prone. But how about this? The final 8th or 16th of a mile. This was the second fastest horse in the race. The fastest was the winner. 11 seconds flat for Mas Rapido, which, holy shit, 11 seconds flat.
Pretty good.
This was the second fastest horse in the stretch, 11.3 seconds. So a good horse who I think, probably could have been right there in the win photo with just a little bit of a better trip.
Yeah, barn switch is interesting for me. Obviously, Mullins, I would say, is a better barn than Amador Sanchez. I don't think many would disagree with me on that fact. My issue here is the cutback to 5. That's why I didn't end up putting the 9 on. We've seen this horse going longer consistently throughout the career. In fact, that was the first time the horse tried one turn, was that 6 furlong race at Santa Anita. Now we're cutting back to the shorter distance. Clearly a horse that's not going to have as much early turn of foot. I'm just a little concerned the 9 is going to be too far back. But again, 10-1, like I don't mind using this 9 at all at that price. Because like you said, this was a horse that was ahead of the 3. Kid Azteca last time out, was right there with Rexford last time out, and you're getting a much better price. So I can see why you ended up on the ticket. Like I said, a little concerned specifically about the distance here for Yak, whatever, because I'm afraid that the shortening up to the 5 is just a little bit too short. And in car ramrods, comment there. I am going to use both Peter Millers, not just one of them. We do have 2 in here. The 5 without borders. Really interesting horse. Don't love the fact it's a 3-year-old taking on older, but that also means that you could probably see some pretty big improvement here. And if you kind of look through what this horse has done and just isolate the turf races, the opening debut goes 6.5 at Santa Anita, gets a 71, runs second, jumps up and doesn't even say, it gets DQ'd into first there. So jumps right up into Allowance Company without winning, which is tough to do. And I thought the horse ran well first time, and then they put it back on turf, and all of a sudden the horse wins. And it's really like having to beat winners without actually winning a race, something that's not an easy thing to do without borders able to do that. Then you get a freshening here after the Los Al race, and now you get the effort back. This is an Air Force Blue horse. Really like those. It's a slam dunk horse. So you know that if a slam dunk horse is decided after a couple after having it in that claiming ranks the first race to not give it up after, they believe they saw something more in it. And slam dunk, pretty sharp ownership group out there in California as well. So I'm going to use the 5 without borders 7-2 here, who I think has a big shot against Olders.
Yeah, this one definitely worries me a bit because of the speed factor. And Diego Herrera has been a really good rider. Started out riding at Los Al as a teenager, and then would do daytime at San Anita, go ride nighttime at Los Al on the same day. Kid's nuts. His current jockey agent has been for a bit, is the son of Slam Dunk Racing's Nick Cassatt. So anytime you see a Slam Dunk Racing horse in California, there's a very strong chance that Diego Herrera is riding. And if he's riding someone else's horse, that means that horse is probably really live, because he'll usually stick there with the Slam Dunk Racing horses. Don't hate to use. A really good effort in that last race at Los Al, and the 5 furlong win on turf. It was at Del Mar, so I get why you're using it. Just didn't make my ticket. The last one for me, just to his outside though, it's the number 6 Gregory's Pride, who had been racing in California for a while, and then Phil D'Amato says, you know what, it's April, it's Keeneland's here, let's ship him out there. And he wins a turf sprint at Keeneland, an allowance race with Flavien Prat aboard. Now, he hasn't won since then, and so it's been a year and a half. But if you consider where he's been running, or where he continued to run, Churchill, Ellis, Keeneland, he winnered at Turfway Park. He was facing some tough horses. Arrest Me Red, Smoke and Jay, Outador, horses we talk about all the time on this show when they're running. Even our buddy Funtastic again beat him 2 races back. It's a long layoff, but Phil D'Amato with a plus 180-day layoff is 20% with a was it half of a penny our flat bet profit on that. So 1
there
penny,
you go, baby. Every half penny counts.
Hey, listen, in betting in Kentucky, man, it really does count. Sometimes it can be really nice, but because I like the Rispoli's back aboard, because if you look at the horse's career, Rispoli's ridden this horse 6 different times. 4 times he finished second. 3 of those were by a nose, a head, and a neck. So he was racing luck away from winning 3 different times. He finished 3rd one time. That was routing. And the one time that he finished 4th, the horse was half a length behind 2 next out winners. So he was right there in a photo with some really good horses. So I'm hoping that reuniting with Rispoli at this big price, and because D'Amato has 2 in here, I'm using one of them. I'm going to throw the 6 on here as well.
Yeah, I look, the 6 is one of those where you're just betting on the reunition, and the fact that you're using the other D'Amato right to the outside in Rexford makes Gregory's Pride a little bit more intriguing, probably in your mind as well, because you're like, if I were using one, might as well use the other, especially with Spoli aboard. So I don't hate it. Rob N brings up the 4 hasn't won since January 21, and then says, but the 4 post is the honey hole at this trip, which is an interesting use of honey, considering it's the 4 bee catcher. So well done, Rob. Not sure if you meant to do that or not. But if you did, touche there. Interesting, your 9 has yet to win on U.S. soil as well. So bee catcher's not the only one who hasn't won in a minute here. There's some horses that are trying to get back into the winner's circle for a first time in a long time. Absolutely wide open race, as you can tell by both of us going 3 deep, using 3 different horses. This is going to be one of those that, like, who knows who goes off the favorite, but no one should be going off at sub 3-1. Would you agree on that one?
Absolutely. I thought of the 9 races. I finished handicapping the whole card right before we came out live. Sorry, that's why we're a little late. I wanted to get that done. I thought this was the hardest of the 9 races, the deepest. Like, you could spread like crazy, and like Mike's got a single that I definitely like his use there. So I get it.
Yeah, it's a tough race. Tougher. I thought the last was tough as well, but I thought that one I'm more price stabbing. This one, I think there's going to be more horses around 4-1 that are all logical.
Second leg of the Del Mar Late Pick 5 on Saturday, November 23rd, race number 6. We're headed to the dirt. We've got 6 fillies, 3 or 4, in for $50,000 claiming tags. They're maiden Callbreds, and like I said, 5.5 furlong dirt sprint. Where'd you go here?
Gimme Pondicherry here, the 2 horse on top. You just talked about it, the angle where a horse gets sight unseen claimed out of a maiden claimer. Well, that's exactly what Doug O'Neill did. And not only did he do it, he did it for himself. He's the owner of this horse. And so that's like double like alarm bells going off. When the trainer says, I'm going to dip in based off the workouts I've seen in the morning, and I'm going to go ahead and buy this horse myself, tells me I should be probably using this horse as well, because that's quite a bit of change there that he put on the line, $50,000 to buy it from Dan Blacker on debut. And the horse ran pretty good on debut considering it was, oh, by the way, 15-1. So not only did he dip in sight unseen, he dipped in on a 15-1 shot sight unseen in a maiden claimer here. I thought the horse ran well on turf, was able to show some speed, ended up fading, weakened in the lane. Doug O'Neill, first off the claim, 25%. I'd love to know what he is for himself, first off the claim. Teams up with Fresu here, one of his top jockeys. The horse, in my mind, is the speed of the speed here. I love the draw on the 2 post, should get to the turn first. I think it's a tough horse to beat here going 5.5. So I'm going to go with the 2 horse Pondicherry on top at 3-1. What about you, Magic?
Oh boy, I almost put this horse on top. I went too deep, and this is like my 1A in here. All the reasons you mentioned. Doug O'Neill's stats per the Daily Racing Form. First off the claim, 25% positive ROI. Turf to dirt, which was something I caught that you like you did. He claimed him and switched his surface. 22% positive ROI. Going against maiden claimers, 28% positive ROI. This is not a barn that you should be getting positive ROIs with the sample sizes that he has, and yet it's happening. So all those things are good there. I think that she might get loose on the front end. She went 47 and flat on the Santa Anita dirt on November 10th. I mean, she was smoking. So we agreed on that one. Go ahead.
Also open to state bred as well. So another, like, it's almost a drop-in class as well from that open company 50 to state bred 50. So a lot of reasons to like the 2.
The other horse I used, you also did as well. My top pick was the 5, Maya Kama, who's your 9-5 favorite on the morning line. At Maya Kama, last time out, I thought ran a really good second. The winner wishes to riches was even money, got the lead right away, and pulled away to win by 5 lengths. And Maya Kama was just kind of chasing her. There's a world where the same thing happens here, where the 2 Pondicherry gets loose and the 5 is just chasing her every step of the way. I thought a 2-5 exacta could be how this plays out, but she did show good improvement in that start. It was her second start. So now 3rd career start, shortening up just a little bit. She's got really good early speed. Maybe that helps her out. So 2-5 for me. And of course, you're getting Juan Hernandez, always the top leading rider out here to be aboard for the second straight start.
Yeah, nothing really to add on the 5. Price probably a little short for the actual win odds, but if you're playing a pick X and you're singling a price like I am, it's a kind of a horse that if you think has a shot at winning is worth using here. I agree with you with the idea that the 2 may just wire the 5 and the 5's not good enough to get past. That would be my other concern here. 3rd horse for me, though, Rob, reading my mind. It's Mark Glatt's world. We're just living in it, baby. 2 to 4, 2 for 4, 50% win rate with a $3.60 ROI with 3-year-old first-time starters in maiden claiming races. That's pretty good. It's a small sample size. It's pretty good. So how about we go to a big sample size? 62 first-time starters, $2.47 ROI. You bring that down to maiden claimers. He's 2 for 9. I'm sorry, 3 for 9 with a $2.87 return on investment as well. So the Glatt first-time starters numbers very good here in the works. Build the foundation that makes me think this horse can roll. I have a feeling this one's going to come from off the pace as well, which kind of sets up well considering we think the 2 and the 5 could possibly bang heads. You've also got the 3 that's got a little bit of speed in there. Like the outside draw for a first-time starter as well, because you should be able to just sit outside and then make a move around the turn. So I'm going to include the 7 here, Diva Cat, 5-1 as well. So 2-5-7 for me to get through this leg.
3rd pick for me in this race. I loved everything you mentioned. Loved the stat from Rob. That was great. Felt like I was reading the Daily Racing Form. It was a great job. I did some dives on this, the family, because she's debuting, right? So I wanted to see what the family was like. 2 of the 6 siblings won their debuts. The dam was unraced, so couldn't look at her. 5 of the 6 siblings are winners overall. There's only 1 sibling that's popped out, made to the races that hasn't been a winner yet. The most impressive of those winners is a mare now named Spectator. She won the Grade 2 Sorrento Stakes as a 2-year-old, going 6.5 furlongs here at Del Mar. But bigger claim to fame, the very first foal that she ever had is Stronghold. So this horse is related to Stronghold, and I'm going to play the wait and see game on her. I think that she absolutely has the talent to win. I think for her debut, the 2 and the 5 are just a little too good for her, but I absolutely like her as a prospect moving forward.
I can't wait for you to wait and see her in the winner's circle on Saturday. Boom!
Well done. Well done. But yeah, I like the horse. Just if I had a single like you did, she absolutely would be on the ticket because I think that she stands a good chance. I like the 1 a little bit, but not at that price on the rail when I like the 2 and 5 a lot better. Same for you?
Yeah, I don't love the spot. Like this is a horse that drew really well last time, 607. So drew to the outside of the speed, ran okay. We talk about Carla Gaines, second time starter. She's 19%. That's a positive thing. Rispoli stays on. That's a positive thing. I'm just not sure that she's a worse version of the 5, right? Where it's like she's just going to chase 2. And if I think the 2 is the fastest horse, which by the way, I think the 2 is the fastest horse, then the 1's just in chase mode from the break again. And this time you're inside catching kickback instead of outside in a better position. So I don't love the post, considering I think the 2 is going to be able to get in front of her.
Let's move on to the third leg of the Del Mar Late Pick 5, Saturday, November 23rd, race number 7. Another 5 furlong turf sprint. Oh boy, 10 Kalleward males 3 and up, plus 3 different also eligibles. I just saw that Piper's Causeway is going to be a scratch there. So yeah, we're going to have a full field of 10. That the original ones will probably draw in 3 also eligibles now. But at this N1X optional claiming level, where'd you go on top?
I went with the 5 horse Double Jab on top here, and we're going for speed, baby. This is the horse who I think makes the lead. Was really impressive last time out, won the race, ends up getting placed 4th because, let's be honest, caused a little trouble down the lane. But I thought it was a very, very good race and able to get to the front for the first time in his career. This is a situation where I think he's got the opportunity to get right back to the front and be able to run away from these horses. Has run well at Del Mar, raced here over this course 4 times going this distance, is 1 for 4 with 2 seconds. So we know likes the course, and it stays with the same jockey. You sent him last time. I think that matters as well. Was sent from the 8 post, the post a little bit better in the 5 spot here. So I think Double Jab makes the front and is able to take this field gate to wire. So we'll go 3-1 on the 5 Double Jab on top. What about you, Magic?
I'm going with the number 5 Double Jab on top. All the reasons you mentioned. The trip note, and I remember this race, that win last time out coming down the hill. When it got done, I put it in the trip notes. Clearly the best. DQ was warranted.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened. Best horse, but he absolutely should have been disqualified for what he did. We agreed on 2 horses. Let's talk about the other one, which is my second choice, maybe yours. The number 3, Devil Be Me, 5-2, which is the slight favorite over the 5. I think it's interesting that he made a turf debut 2 back. Okay, fine. Comes back. Knapp claims him. His current trainer claims him out of that first race back, which was on dirt. And Knapp says, no. Back on the turf. Get your ass back on the grass there. JJ Hernandez was aboard that day. Last time out, he's going to ride through the claim. And this is a horse that's a dirt win machine. 5 for 10 lifetime on dirt. But he's pretty much run through every single protective condition that they can get for him with the setup they want. So they're like, let's try turf with him. I'm going to say, why not try turf with the 3?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting when you have, like in California, you can run state bred and you can run open. Same with New York, and not be in for a claiming tag. So you can go through the conditions on both. And this is one of those situations where he's gone through the open conditions, but not the state bred conditions on turf here. So you get the opportunity to try the 3 horse on turf back in the N1X level. It makes a ton of sense. I think it's interesting that not only are we going back to turf, but we are turf sprinting. If you look at that one race, it was a mile on the turf. So you're kind of get the trainer here, Steve Knapp, coming in and saying, look, you had the right idea. Just you weren't totally right. We're going to go to the turf sprint where this horse has had a lot more success sprinting. So I agree with you. I think the 3 pretty logical in here. Should get a good trip, has tactical speed, likes to pass horses. All those are positive things for drawing the 3 posts when you are turf sprinting. So 3 and 5, actually my top 2 as well. So I was 5-3 as well. Then we'll diverge a little bit. You left off your boy Rispoli, and I'm not going to make that same mistake here. Super Now, the 7 horse Fulfilled D'Amato. This is one that kind of jumped up a little bit in the N1X rankings and faced a little bit better last time out. That was the Double Jab race. This horse ended up running 4th, but had a lot of issues early in that race. I'm sorry, ended up running 8th, but had a lot of issues early in that race, and so was never really in it. This is your kind of dead closer here, turf sprinting. We've seen it in every one of the turf sprints, been at least 6 lengths off the lead at the half-mile point when turf sprinting. Probably going to be in that same position. But if you look at the races prior to the last, and this is a 3-year-old. So it's a 3-year-old who's slowly getting better and better and better as you progress through these races this summer. You've got the first effort of 77, then 76, then jumps to an 81. You have that regression down to a 70 in a race which this horse was 4.5 to 1 in. But because of the trouble, I don't think that in any way indicates the actual effort that you got from Super Now that day. So with a better race, better setup here, and I do think we do have quite a bit of speed, I think it has an opportunity for someone to come from off the pace. I'm going to stick with the Rispoli D'Amato horse, who's shown the ability to close multiple times, just has not quite closed the job when coming from off the pace, who's been improving as a 3-year-old. I think Super Now gets a little bit better, just like we've seen the last couple races, and able to close into this field. So I'll take a shot with the number 7, Super Now, at 5-1.
I went 3 deep, and this was my 4th horse.
Hey.
I went back and forth with who I was going to use in this last spot there, and left this one off, and that might be my undoing because it's Phil D'Amato on turf with Rispoli. So that can be that can be a way to get myself beat. But respect to 7. I liked the 4 a little, just a touch more. Geezer, who is 6-1 for Hector Palma, which, first of all, Hector squared. I love when these two guys team up. It wasn't that long ago, Mike, that Hector Palma on turf was the easiest auto chuck since who's the horse we hate on turf? Union Rags on turf. It was like Hector Palma on turf or Union Rags. He went 0 for 89 at least. I stopped counting at 89 because I felt bad for the man. 89 straight turf losses, like all over the place. Guy couldn't buy a turf winner in a 1-horse race. But he's improved. And speaking of improvement, how about Hector Berrios hopping aboard for the first time? I think that's going to be a key improvement angle as well. The horse has shown the desire to pass, likes to pass, but I like getting Berrios aboard for the first time. No shot to Pereira, no shot to Frizu. Berrios on turf, man. He moves horses up sometimes that you're like, how did he do that? It's Berrios.
Yeah, I feel like we were early on the Hector Berrios train. That we're basically the conductors.
You were. I mean, half credit, but you were.
Back in Florida, when you watched him ride, when he was riding, he was the best jockey in Florida when the non-champions meet. And you could just see the talent that he had. He moves over to California, had a ton of success. Berrios Hector, since coming over from California, as Jared famously coined him. I considered this one issues for me. All the best races are on dirt. Like this horse is just
over 5 on turf.
Yeah, it's run better on dirt. And so it's like, well, I can't really make the argument that we're going to get the dirt races on turf. Now, has been improving. And if Berrios can step him forward, then all of a sudden, I could see it. I didn't take a swing here on the improvement. I did take a swing with my old friend Peter Miller, though.
God, if Peter Miller has a good day, so will you.
So will I. This is the one where
the horses won't. Sorry.
Yeah, and poor horses. Look, this is a horse that has speed, is going to be one of the ones that's tussling for the early lead here. If Double Jab doesn't get it, I think it's going to be the 9 Capital Outlay who does. I'm speed hunting here. That's really the only reason I want to play Capital Outlay is if we do get the lead, I think this horse has a shot to go gate to wire. And it's a price. We're getting 12-1 right now on this horse. Faced winners for the first time last time, and they went nuts. They went 21-4. This horse quit off of that pace. If you go back to 2-back, which was, oh, by the way, here at Del Mar, where we've run our best race, was able to take a field gate to wire, going 22-2, 45-1, and hold on. I'm hoping for something more like that pace. And if this one is the one that ends up clearing, I think the 9 can take this field gate to wire. But again, this is simply a price ad who has speed, hoping that we basically can return to form, returning back to Del Mar, because this is where this horse has run his best races.
I get what you're going for with the speed angle. You're getting a great price. I was a little concerned that the horse just eventually broke the main because he ran out of horses to beat, but as you mentioned, has run the best races here at Del Mar and has been pretty darn consistent overall. If you should be forgiving of that debut effort. Ever since then, it's been pretty good. So I get it. Didn't use, but I get exactly where you're looking at with that horse.
Yeah, it's interesting. They never dropped this one back into claiming again either. So this was in maiden claiming once, and then they just kind of stuck it out, thinking that eventually that this horse was going to win. Eventually gets the win, and after getting beat pretty good by this level of company last time, they're just right back in it. So clearly the barn thinks this horse can win at this level. We'll see if the horse actually can. But at 12-1, willing to take a shot by throwing this one on here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're getting a good price on it, so you might as well just take a shot there, especially because you do have a single coming up, and it's in the next race, which is the featured event at Del Mar on Saturday, November 23rd. Race number 8, the Grade 3 Native Diver Stakes, 1.125 miles on the main track. Bob Baffert has 2 in here. There's also a Grade 1 winner named Mixto who's in this race, and when you look at the list of winners in the Native Diver Stakes in the past, it's a real list of that's a horse that I once watched on the track. Sorry, there's a bad group of winners for this race. It's not a great race, but it's one that we have to pick. All that to say, tell me about your single.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned we've got a Grade 1 winner in here. We also have a Grade 1, a horse that ran second in a Grade 1 as well. And that's the one I'll go to. Your recent maiden breaker, the one horse Miramati. One of the more, I don't know, we'll call hyped horses of the last 2 years that really did not pan out for Bob Baffert. This is a horse that ran in Stakes Company to start out. This was a JJ Hernandez horse who's now on the 2-horse Ultra Power. We'll talk about that one in a second, I'm sure. But look, I've seen this enough. This is your speed. This is your rail. And Ultra Power, who is going to be the other Baffert, draws the 2-post. We've talked about this before, how they set each other up when you have this Baffert scenario. And Miramati, clearly the fastest horse in this field. He gets the lead onto the turn. So I've got a Baffert horse who's going to make the lead. And you've got a Baffert horse who is sitting right to his outside, which is going to mean that he's not going to be pressed too hard into that first turn, into that half mile. Then really it's who's better, Miramati or Ultra Power down the lane. And I've learned my lesson. You take the one in front when it's Baffert, when it's who's better down the lane. I think Miramati has a very good chance of going gate to wire outside of just that, we'll call it contextual handicapping. This horse has always had talent. The big question is, could this horse ever put it together? You look at who beat this horse early in his career as horses like Prince of Monaco. Then you come back and you're like, well, the horse never really succeeded. Well, he never went 2 turns either. And guess what we did last time? We went 2 turns over Santa Anita's dirt course, and this horse absolutely aired against the field. Now, again, facing a lot better competition here, but is going to get the lead again, going 2 turns. I don't think 1 1/8 is an issue. I'll take the inside here and 6-1 on Miramati, who's going to go gate to wire in this spot.
Boy, I don't even know what to say. Not revival, because he's been doing fantastic in Kentucky, but the return of Martin Garcia to California with Bob Baffert, it's like, this is literally 10 years ago. It's like, where the hell Garcia's back. He looks just as, he literally looks the same. The guy hasn't changed his facial appearance, I think, in his 32 years on this earth. He came out of the womb looking like that. But he rides Citizen Bowl. He comes in on a weekend when Juan Hernandez gets suspended. Garcia gets asked to come out to California. He rides Citizen Bull, and now he's a Breeders' Cup Juvenile champion. It's nuts. And then also, by the way, Barnes, we haven't talked about this horse, a $2.3 million purchase named for Baffert's assistant, Jimmy Barnes, got sent to Churchill just so Baffert can start the revenge tour a little early he's got those double fingers nice and warmed up. Garcia's riding Barnes, and then he's coming back to California with Barnes, who's going to ride Miramati. It's incredible. Anyways, I went too deep in here. I've been so fascinated with the Martin Garcia Baffert reunion, and very excited to see what they can keep doing. I did use the one, wasn't my top pick, but that win last time out, it was a fluke. Oh, he finally beat a bad group in his 9th career start. Okay, those are all true, but what changed? He went routing. He'd only been routing once in his life. One time in his life, a horse that they bought for $1 million finally tries routing again, and he beats the shit out of those horses when he is clearly, if you look at his progression this year, has grown up as a 3-year-old. He's figured it out. So I really respect the aggressiveness to single here with him. I love that Garcia's coming in to ride him. I also think Ultra Power loves Del Mar, and I think that win 2 back, but I did not have him. I was trying to beat him there because I thought this horse was not good, and he made me look like an absolute jackass. I know it happens a lot. I make that easy. Last time out at Santa Anita, if you watch the replay, it looked like he wasn't handling the track very well. He'd never raced on the dirt at Santa Anita before, and then he still was within, a couple of heads of Imagination, who's a Grade 1 winner, and Tarantino, who was a former Baffert way back in the day and actually is back in this race again. I'm going to use Ultra Power because I think that he's going to sit right behind Miramati, and then it's just a matter of, does he bounce out of that race? Does he bounce facing winners in a Grade 3 race? Does he bounce facing 9 furlongs? Ultra Power, I know, is going to be right there with a chance.
Yeah, Ultra Power was second pick for me. So I'm right there with you. I thought Skinner was a little interesting here. I had him in 3rd, and if I had tried to really get creative and find a way to spread in here, it would be those 3 if I was going to use anybody. I think Skinner gets a nice setup here. Like, let's say Miramati comes back. Torrentino, who Michael Olson is incorrectly saying is going to make the lead, saying he's an easy single. He ain't making the lead. He's not. I guarantee you Miramati wins the race to the first turn here. And Ultra Power is also going to be pushing Tarantino out, if not crossing on him. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this early plays out. But it's going to be Miramati who makes the turn first. It's going to be 100% send here with Garcia, especially aboard. I think you probably agree with me on that one, Magic. But it sets up for Skinner. If Skinner wants to roll or runs well, he's the one who I think is dangerous off the pace. But I was 1, 2, 3 in here. And I like trying to take a shot here in the pick 5 and going for a price as a single. So I'll single up the one Miramati.
Tarantino wins this every horse in this race, including the grade 1 winner mixed still can they're chunk. I'm sorry. First of all, the fact that I am picking on you a little bit. Michael said every single time you've come into our live shows and said easy single, this horse is going to dominate. Still waiting for that first one to be correct. It hasn't happened. The last time you like to do it with the horses that are at least co-owned by Rockingham Ranch, who's your employer. And this horse, co-owned by Rockingham Ranch. I get why you're high on him, but you're high if you think this horse is beating both the Baffert horses with Peter Urton as his trainer. So it's not going to happen here. I wish you all the best of luck, but I'm not going to ride with 5. And by the way, if the 5 goes, the one's going with him, it absolutely sets up for the 2 and the 3. And the problem with the 3 is that it's Skinner. Look at him. I mean, like he runs 2nd and 3rd all the time. He almost won the San Diego Derby. He almost won the Native Diver last year.
But he doesn't. He doesn't win.
We've seen him so many times. I can't stand this horse other than the fact I know he's going to get bet. And it's like, adding to the takeout.
I mean, any interest in Mixto at all? We didn't even mention the grade 1 winner in this 6-horse field.
No. Because that was, with respect to Tiz the Magician, that was the worst Pacific Classic they've ever run. Like, if you look at what's happened since then, like Dr. Venkman, Arabian Night, retired. Like, they just said, we got beat, or it didn't even go to that race. Like, it just, not a good Pacific Classic.
What about Full Serrano?
He won the dirt mile, but he also almost won a 1.25 mile race and got caught at the wire when he's clearly bred to go 8 furlongs and not a step further.
That's fair. I will say that's fair. But Full Serrano still came back and won a Breeders' Cup race. Can't be that bad of a Pacific Classic.
He did.
Yeah. So neither of on the 6 or 5. We both like the inside. 1 for me and 1 and 2 for Magic.
There we go. Let's move on. The 5th and final leg of the sequence at Del Mar Saturday, November 23rd, race 9. I saw that.
Let us know who they are, Michael, so we can fade them.
We'll wait till the entries come out and we'll look for the Rockingham horses. 1 mile turf route for 12 maiden males. 3 end up in this 5th race, 5th leg of the pick 5, race 9. The 11 and 13 are going to be early scratches. So the 14 is going to draw into the race. Not something we see too often on the turf at Del Mar. Big race here. Where'd you go on top?
I went on the inside. Give me Over the Ocean here. Jonathan Thomas ships in from Keeneland to send this horse out. I think we got a good shot at a gate to wire winner here over the Del Mar turf going a mile. Now, gate to wire, not been an easy thing to do on the Del Mar turf. You watch the Breeders' Cup, you want to be closing. You watch the last couple weeks, you want to be closing. So going against the track a little bit here. I thought this horse ran very well last time out, broke out of the 4 post, but didn't get the rail. They went 22 and 3, and this horse was too wide around that first turn, too wide around the second turn. And I thought hung on well for a 3rd place finish. Now you ship back. You're running a mile instead of the 1:16. I think that is better. You've got the inside rail. You've got speed. You get Shaman out of board. I think it's all systems go here with the 1 Over the Ocean. Where'd you go on top, Magic?
Oh, boy. I another 1A situation. I had this horse in 2nd, but don't you think that this horse loves that the 11 Just Before Dawn scratched? Because Just Before Dawn, I don't even think was winning from out there, but was definitely going to be part of that pace presence, and now isn't here. Big sneaky move there. Also, the 1 seems to have a real thing for French jockeys. Florent Giroux, Flavien Prat, Vincent Cheminot. I'm sensing a theme here. If the horse loses again, let's try Frizu. Let's try the Italian Stallion. Maybe that'll get him over. Like I said, 1A for me. I did put the 10 on top. Derigo. I loved everything you said about the 1 coming in from the Midwest for a really awesome trainer. The 10 Derigo. This post isn't great, but it's not a need the lead type. And I think the post might actually help him, force him to get into what I think is his better running style, which is coming from off of it. His debut is Santa Anita after he made his career debut at Ireland, 2nd beat and a half length. That's pretty impressive. Comes to Santa Anita 5 months later. And it comes from off the pace with Reese Bully aboard, and they get 4th, but they're 4th beaten 2.5 behind Spycatcher, who
Good
was
horse.
like a nose away from winning a grade 1 race as a maiden. Like, that's a damn good horse. And then he came back going a mile and an eighth, but he drew the inside post. He was a little forwardly placed. And then when Reese Blue was trying to get him to relax, his head's going all over the place. And he's you can hear, if you watch it, you can hear him screaming expletives. I was about to say it. He's just screaming expletives at Reese Blue. Like, I don't like this. He hated it. And yet he's 5.5 lengths behind at one point and still finishes it within 4 lengths of the leader. So after all of that wasted energy, going 9 furlongs, he still had something to still come back and go get those horses. Now he shortens up. And again, I'm hoping that this outside post forces him to take back, and then he'll finally show some maturity and kick on late.
Second pick for me. So 1-2 the same year. Wish this horse was by Daring Go, because that would be a great way. Dare I Go and Daring Go to kind of get the lineage going. Although Daring Go, not a turf horse, beat Cigar, I believe it was, in the Pacific Classic, to knock off Cigar's win streak there with Alex Solis aboard, I believe it was. I like the 10-2, all the reasons you mentioned. I think the cutback to a mile is the big difference. I think that we're closer to the pace because of the 1.8 mile distance. And now with the mile and more speed, I think you get a better version of the trip that we saw 2 back with the speed in here. So I think Dare Go makes a ton of sense from the 10 post. I use the 2 Mysterious Husband. I'm just mentioning this one because it's the non-price play. I'm going to spend more time on the price plays. Concerned about the cutback. For me, the mile is more of a question mark. We saw 2 back this horse go a mile and kind of just got caught up. Last time out was 34-1. Now it's 5-2. Don't love that either. But the fact that we singled the last race with a non-favorite, I'm willing to go after or include this horse just because I do think the talent is there and the last race showed the improvement. Did you use the 2 Magic or did you leave this one off?
I left the 2 off because I'm using some shorter prices elsewhere. I also thought he just had everything fell into line for him going that 9 furlongs. Nothing before that, including when he'd been with Glatt for 2 starts.
Yep.
Really showed that. I do think it's funny that he, debuts protected for Glatt. Then they run him for $50K and O'Neill claims him. And Glatt goes, no, we want him back. And they paid a $12,500 premium to get him. Now they got most of that back with that second place effort last time out. But I just could, at that price, when I think this horse has got a better chance at the main claiming ranks, what changed in your mind? What changed in that last race to make him suddenly a contender?
The distance, the distance in where he was sitting. I thought it just was an easier race stylistically for him, going the 1.8 miles in the mile. He didn't have as much pressure early and was able to go, was able to just kind of run along going 12s. To me, the big issue there was that, 34-1, 35-1, and now you're 5-2. I will say, you mentioned the Glatt move back and forth. Definitely is a positive for the horse, right? That they want to claim it back for the 12-5 more and then run it back protected once and then run it back protected again. So they clearly don't want to lose this horse again. And they believe if they dropped in for 50, this horse would definitely get claimed. So I think that's definitely a positive. The price delta to me a little bit of a concern, but I felt like this was one of the logicals. And since, like I said, I'm singling in the last race and putting a price in there, I was willing to include this one. When I'm in a race, I'm going 5 deep. I didn't want this week the favorite to knock me out here in a spot where, lukewarm, but don't love it. One horse I do like quite a bit. We've talked about our boy Barrios Hector quite a bit in this spot. Give me the 5-horse Spearfish here for Dan Blacker. Blinkers off, which I think is an interesting move considering they kept them on, was in that Spycatcher race. 2 back, ended up Spycatcher, or faced Spycatcher 2 back. The horse beat Spycatcher, or lost to Spycatcher, was 2.5 lengths back, going a mile over the Santa Anita turf. That was the first time they put blinkers on. They left them on for that last race, which was a similar race to the 2-horse Mysterious Husband. This one was wide on both turns. Didn't really get a very good trip. It was 1.8 miles. They didn't go all that fast early. Was never able to make up ground late, but also, cut a little bit into the gap there. I think switching back to the mile is a positive. If you go back, that race 2 back where there was a pace at a mile was the best race we've seen from this horse. Now we're getting that same setup with a pace from a mile, draws the 5 posts in a bigger field. I think that sets up well. And you get Barrios on top who can close. And if you look like from a buyer perspective, this horse is competitive with everybody else in the field, yet is 15-1 versus the 1 horse who's 4-1, the 10 horse who's 3-1. The buyers are comparable here with the 5, who I think gets a better trip and cuts back the distance you want. Also gets Barrios aboard. So for all those reasons, I'll take the 5 here, 15-1. Did you use the 5 at all?
I did. 4th horse. I went 4 deep and I put this horse on. But all the reasons you mentioned, and what really caught my attention especially is the blinkers coming off when Barrios was aboard for 2. starts, and then finally said, all right, take him off. Let's try this again. And let's put some respect on Dan Blacker's name. That is Breeders' Cup champion trainer, Dan Blacker, with Straight No Chaser. So he's a nice guy. He's a genuinely nice guy. So I was happy for him, even though I didn't have Straight No Chaser in that race. So we agreed on those three. We went, you're a bit more price honey than I am, but you have two more. I've got the 6 horse left to go, English Icon, which Shadi mentioned. Hi, Shadi. This is the other Mark Glatt horse. So the 2 horse is one. Thanks. I was just clicking over to do that. The 2 horse is the 5-2 favorite, Glatt, but also he's got this one in here, and Diego Herrera is going to be aboard. Ignore last time out. He went sprinting, and they put blinkers on, and both of those things are changing. The blinkers are off, and we're going back to routing. And kind of similar to the 10, I want this horse to take back and make one run. He was in that race where Spycatcher finished second by a nose with unbelievable. I was screaming at Frizu. I hated the trip he got that race, but Spycatcher won out of that race. Middleburg won out of that next race. So some common opponents for some of these horses. The 10 lost to Middleburg last time out. So I'm going to use the 6 in here. I was hoping for a little bit better of a price than 6-1. But maybe I also think the price is going to come down a little bit on the 5, maybe based off of the buyers. So maybe that helps the 6 out a little bit. Not the price hunting you were doing, but I do think this horse with the late kick like he had over this course and distance on debut could be good enough to win.
Yeah, I looked at the 6. The price really surprised me. I disagree with the 6-1 morning line. I think this horse is 10-1, 12-1, somewhere in that range. I didn't know the trip that I could pick out in my head, and that's the other reason why I ended up leaving the 6 off, because the last race screams that this horse wants to go, but I don't think this horse is fast enough to get the lead early. And your idea of, hey, let's make this one run, we don't really have a race on the paper that shows the horse can make the one run and be able to pick them all up. And so that kind of scared me away from the 6. But this is an English Channel Oxbow horse. Sprinting is not the game, right? Especially sprinting with the lead. That is not what we want to be doing. And you could make cases that the trip wasn't wonderful at Del Mar last time, that ended up 5th, losing by 3 lengths, but had a lot of issues throughout that race. And it wasn't really a clean run. Oh, by the way, also the first time the horse had started. So you're doing something new. So I don't hate the idea on the 6. I just hate the price on the 6, sitting there at 6-1. I'm going to take a big shot here. Give me the 8 Nassau Circle, 20-1 on the morning line as my last horse here. It's a Gary Mandela horse. 1 for 22 this year. Not getting very many starters. Not going to lie. That kind of surprised me there. But it's a horse that has been working phenomenally in the morning. We haven't seen this horse since September 8th. On November 3rd over at Santa Anita. We had a bullet workout going 48-4. Then at Del Mar, 35 seconds flat last time out. So a horse that debuted sprint, dirt, didn't get bet at all. Was in the race with Miramani and a couple others. You go back, you watch that race. This was a learning effort for this horse. It was never really the intention. Now you're flipping over to turf. Mandela, second-time starters. Really small sample size, but 1 for 2. So 50% there. Going from sprint to route, again, small sample size, but 1 for 4. So both of those are positive. By the way, that was a price that won both of those races. This is a price here. I'm going to take a swing that this horse is actually a decent turf horse here, because you've got the APND flatter on the top. You've got Street Sense on the bottom. The Tomlinson says this horse should like the turf. The workouts are good. You're getting a price in a race that feels like it's wide open if it's not one of the logical horses. So I'll take a shot here with the 8 Nassau Circle.
Listen, the horse could take a step forward in the second start, and I think routing, you listed off the breeding, is probably what this horse is going to want anyways. But according to DRF, the sire flatter, just 4% winners with first-time turf. And as far as the dam and the sibling goes, they each tried turf once and didn't win. So I'm not going to discount them for that. But I think this is a horse that's going to be better going 2 turns on dirt. I just don't think that the turf will be where he ends up wanting to go. Just guessing, maybe this was the first spot that opened where Mandela was like, okay, let's just put you in here, get a race done, and then see what, maybe because of that poor debut on dirt, maybe he's like, all right, let's see if the turf wakes you up before we drop you in for a maiden claiming tag.
Yeah, definitely a little concerned. This is another learning experience. But at the price of 20-1, I'm willing to take a little bit of a shot.
You're going to get more than that too. I think you're going to get 40, 50, 60-1 if this in the will pays. So, I mean, hey, go for it. If I'm going to lose, let it be because this horse blows up and you scoop the pick 5 or something.
That would be fun. You're not going to lose because of this, though. You're going to lose because we're different in the first race. That's your problem.
No. Remember, I added one. I
Oh,
added
that's
the
right.
8.
That's right.
I added
Okay.
the 8.
There we go. So we can get through with the 8, and then I can scoop in the last rig with this 8.
Well, let's review those tickets as we close out the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining us. Blinkers Off is scheduled to start right now, so we're going to get out of here before we run into their time. But for my
Look
ticket,
at us
I'll read
being
it
all
off.
nice. If only they would return that same favor.
I also started 6-7 minutes late, so it's, I'm not going to praise myself too much. But for my pick 5 ticket, I'm going to start off revised. I'm going to go 6 through 9 in the first leg, then 2-5,
Nice.
then 3-4-5, then 1-2, then 1-5-6-10 for $96, Mr. Somich.
Go with an $80 ticket here because we've got a single inserted in the middle of it. We're going to go 3-5-8 with 2-5-7 with 3-5-7-9. Single up the 1 and then close it out with 1-2-5-8-10. $80, $4.50.
We really appreciate you joining us. This is going to be the last show from November for us because obviously next Thursday is Thanksgiving. And also, you can see behind me, got moving boxes. This will be the last show from this current setup. I'm going to tentatively hope that the first Thursday of December, so not next Thursday, but 2 weeks from now, everything will be set up and at least enough in the house that I can do the show. So we'll tentatively plan on that. We'll keep you posted if that changes. And for more on that, follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. Again, reminder, Blinkers Off is coming out momentarily. Before we go, any final thoughts, Mr. Somich?
Thursday night football tonight. We should get our first weather game. It's supposed to be some snow, maybe some rain in the forecast here in Cleveland.
Oh boy.
I took Cleveland plus 2.5 first half. This is a Steelers team that struggled in the first half. They're 3-6-9 or 3-6-1 on the money line in 10 games so far. They have one convincing win in the first half. That was against Denver. They won by 10. That was week 2 of the year before Bo Nix had figured out how to play quarterback. The other 2 were because of 2 missed field goals by the Ravens last week, as well as 2 fumbles. They still would have lost that half had they just made the 2 field goals by Justin Tucker. And the other one was the Giants, who fumbled the football on the 30-yard line and allowed for a short touchdown for the Steelers. If not for that, they would be 9-1 on the money line in the first half. You can catch 2.5 with Cleveland. So I'll take advantage of the slow starting Pittsburgh Steelers who are coming off a physical game against the Baltimore Ravens and see if we can cash a first half bet here on Thursday night.
As a Steelers fan, I don't hate Cleveland money line for the game. This is not, especially with Russell Wilson, it's not a good red zone offense. It's kind of that 70s Steelers team where they just somehow grind out the games and get it done. Because they usually play pretty low mistake football. I think the physical game, not scoring a lot last week, short week now, Thursday night, traveling. I could see this being a very low. I know this total is 36.5. I could see the under on that one. And again, I think that the Browns could end up winning this in an upset.
Yeah, full game total right now, 36.5. I like the first half total a little bit. Similar reason to why I like Cleveland in the first half. That's a 17.5, a paltry 17.5.
Ooh, yeah.
But I'm not sure how Cleveland scores in this game either. That's the other problem. It's it's not exactly a offense that's built. They haven't been able to run the football efficiently. And then you have Jameis Winston trying to chuck it around in the wind and snow. That doesn't sound like a very good plan for success. So we'll see here what their offense can do. But like the Browns plus 2.5 first half, would lean under 17.5 first half. Not going to go crazy with this game. Do like one in hockey tonight. Give me the Minnesota Wild plus 135 headed into Edmonton to take on the Oilers. Oilers have played. This will be their 4th game in 6 nights. The 3 previous were road games. Now they're coming home. The Wild, the 3rd best team in hockey right now, getting nice plus money on them. Give me the Wild plus 135.
Plus money peaches. That's what Aaron likes with NHL. Just find plus money games. That's a good way to go about it. And also, as we sign off, your current Super Bowl favorites are not the Kansas City Chiefs, baby.
Wait a second. You said you're a Steelers fan.
As a Detroit Lions fan, I am very proud of
I thought you were a Rams fan.
As a Denver Broncos fan, I did like Bo Nix's game last week.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, how many teams in the NFL would you call yourself a fan of?
Legitimately, 3.
Okay. So none. Yeah, I will give you credit in the NHL. At least you're a Red Wings fan. You don't root for any other team in the NHL. So you're actually a Red Wings fan. You have no football team. They've all been disowned from you. If you're rooting for 3 teams, you have 0 football teams.
Listen, my Rams and I don't need this kind of back talk. But hey, when you spread, you got a greater chance at hitting the winner, right? That's what we do in football or in horse racing.
That's not how fandom works. So you're talking betting, fine, but that's not how fandom works. You can't spread your emotions, and you can't like have it. I have a 50% heart equity in the Lions and a 20% heart equity in the Rams and a 30%. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Okay, so Mike's right. I do have one true fandom. The Detroit Red Wings, which have the skateboard logo, Detroit Red Wings coffee mug, and then another pen holder that's a koozie.
I will give you credit.
It's actually really cool. Have I ever shown you this one? It's a koozie, but it's got the arms that stick out.
I actually have a Blues one like that in my garage right now.
Awesome. Mine's clearly is a pen holder, not an actual koozie. But all right, let me get out of here get us out of here before I break stuff on my. As we're about to move, everything's about to fall off and break. Okay, let's get out of here. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back hopefully in 2 weeks for another Magic Mike show. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend with all your bets. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.